Hello, all, and welcome to my presentation about professional communication in the workplace. My name is Deshawn Lackran, and we will discuss how, as supervisors, you can professionally communicate in the workplace. And we will review key important points such as identifying the responsibilities of the supervisors as it relates to communication, explain how supervisors can be successful in their role, define the stages the supervisors will use to develop the team, identifying lead roles for each stage of the team development, identifying activities that a supervisor can develop to create a high performing team, explaining the importance of effective communication in the workplace. We will be highlighting strengths and weaknesses of communication in this company and identifying avenues for improvements and techniques for overcoming barriers of communication. So again, welcome you and thank you for joining. Let us begin. As a supervisor, you have many responsibilities. One of those responsibilities is communication. As a supervisor, proper communication is essential to successfully doing your job. Some things you have to keep in mind when communicating is how you send and receive ideas, how you give instructions, and you have to be putting together progress reports. That all has to do with communication. Much of a supervisor's day has to deal with communication. Knowing how to effectively communicate is a big responsibility for a supervisor and can be the difference from having a successful team or not. So then how can we be successful at communicating? Well, to be a successful communicator in your role, you need to look at four things. One, how to communicate from the receiver's viewpoint. Two, how to learn from feedback. Three, how to use strategies for effective listening. And four, how to prepare for cultural differences. So during the next few slides, we're going to dive into those 4 points to see how exactly we can do this successfully. As mentioned, the first point we're going to look at is the receiver's viewpoint. We want to be able to gain interest and attention. So to do that, we need to communicate from the receiver's viewpoint. If you want the receiver's attention, interest, and understanding, you must communicate from that person's viewpoint. You want to keep in mind what will pique the interest of your listeners. For example, we work in the bleach industry. So when we're looking to purchase rail cars for the company, which will then create more work for the operators, explain to the operators the reasons for this. Because the sale of bleach is in high demand, and as a company, we have a need to expand. You will have their attention, and this will pique their interest, and they will better understand why the changes are being made. Second reason we want to look at is we want to listen to what employees are saying. When an employee is talking, don't immediately think of a response. When they see they have our undivided attention, they will be more inclined to open up. And our third point is we want to pay attention to employees' emotions. If an employee's voice is tense, for example, you find out if a person is afraid or angry and why, this will help in knowing their mindset when they are communicating with you. When communicating, you will receive feedback. Some of those feedback responses can be facial expressions, verbal expressions, or subsequent behavior. How can we apply that in our role as supervisors in our company? Well, as a company, we are currently rolling out a new hard hat policy. As supervisors, it will be your responsibility to communicate this policy. Some key points in this policy will be that there will be 2 hard hat designs that you can choose from. The hard hat must be black, and all visitors will wear red. So how can these feedback responses apply? Well, when we communicate this policy, does the facial expression on the employee's face show they understand, or are they confused? They may respond verbally, asking if they need to always have 2 hard hats available. If they understood the message, no employees will be wearing the old hard hats going forward. By noticing these 3 feedback responses as a supervisor, you will be able to determine if the employees understood the message. and then proceed accordingly. Successful communication is more than just speaking. We need to be effective listeners. Well, how can we accomplish that? We can look at 10 ways. First, we want to remove distractions and give the speaker your full attention. Second, we want to look at the speaker most of the time. Third, when the speaker hesitates, give a sign of encouragement, such as a smile or a nod. Fourth, we want to try to hear the main point and supporting points. 5, we want to distinguish between opinions and facts. We want to control our emotions. We want to be patient and do not interrupt. Importantly, we want to take notes. In appropriate times, we want to ask questions to clarify our understanding. And then 10, we want to restate what you think the speaker's point is and ask whether you heard correctly. As supervisors, you need to do more than just hear when an employee talks, but you also need to actively listen. This will help employees understand their situation, take responsibility, and cooperate. Active listening is used effectively only when a supervisor demonstrates a genuine respect for employees and a belief in their ability to direct their own activities. This leads us into our fourth point on how to be successful communicators. And that fourth point is realizing cultural differences and what to do. So we want to keep it simple. Stick to simple, basic words. Avoid using jargon of our industry. So an example of that, when we have a chlorine leak in our company, we usually say the air is spicy. You might want to avoid saying that because people who aren't in the chlorine industry or are new to the company will not understand what we mean by the air is spicy. Instead, we want to keep it simple and say chlorine leak is in the area or chlorine gas is in the air. Next point is we want to seek feedback. We want to receive this feedback, look for it so we can understand, we can make sure that they know what you are trying to say. And then be adaptable. Learn about the communication styles used by people from different cultures, and then try to match them when appropriate. What can we use to develop the team? Well, we have to look at the 5 stages of team development. That's forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. When we look at forming, this is the first stage. This is where the team gets to know one another. This is usually where uncertainty about the team comes in. However, this is the time where team members will get to know who plays what role on the team and everyone's strengths. Your lead role in this would be the motivator. This is somebody who will energize the team. When we go on to storming, this is where group members explain their different roles on the team. Your lead role there will be a communicator who will help dialogue flow smoothly between the team. Norming is where everyone understands each other's roles and everyone's had a chance to make their voices heard. Your lead role here will be coaching, so make sure the goal is clearly communicated. Performing, this is where the productivity starts and the work gets done. A lead role here can be a collaborator that ensures smooth teamwork. And then finally, adjourning is where the work is completed and the team is no longer needed. A good lead role here will be a mentor or mentoring, which creates a connection and bond with employees that will help them with growth in future projects. It is important to have effective communication in the workplace, but being able to communicate effectively involves more than just being a good speaker. Effective communication can be the difference between a team succeeding or failing. Listen to what employees are saying because they may have ideas that can help support the group. Also, effective communication eliminates gossip and rumors. It boosts productivity by allowing teams to clearly understand their task. So when we look at the communication within our company, we need to look at our strengths and our weaknesses. Some of our strengths are various communicating platforms, For example, we have Teams, Square Teams, AppSpace, email, phone calls. All of these various platforms that we use for communication within the company leaves little room for communication to get lost. We offer company meals. Hosting the many company meals that we do allow employees to feel comfortable and more relaxed, which leads to freeness to communicate. And then we have less channels to go through. Being a small company that we are, currently in our location, we're at 28 employees. We're all close to each other, so communication is easy. But then we have to look at our weaknesses. Relationships between supervisors need improvement. Some supervisors don't have a great working relationship, and the tension negatively impacts the communication. Some supervisors are non-approachable and don't have an open door policy, which leads them to be unapproachable. And then there is no follow-up. When suggestions are made or communicated as a company, we can do a better job following up on those suggestions, whether we implement them or not. So as a company, how can we improve and overcome these barriers of communication? Well, we want to look at information overload. Access to information is all around us. At work, we get information through calls, emails, chats, and face-to-face communicating with our colleagues. One way to improve on this is to only give out information that is used or needed. You can go through misunderstandings. To avoid that, you want to make better word choices. Use simple, easy to understand wording and responses. And then we have bias perception. Be aware we don't have any prejudice toward our employees. Be mindful of the assumptions we make and focus on understanding rather than assuming. By applying these 3 points, we can improve with our communication as a company and overcome barriers that we have with communication. I want to thank you for joining and listening into my presentation. In conclusion, having a professional, effective communication within the workplace can result in strong leaders, high-performing teams, and a successful company.